Well, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us. My name is Tom Meyer. I have the honor of being chairman for this year for the St. Tammany Chamber of Commerce. We want to welcome everybody tuning in. We had almost, I think, 80 people plus sign on, as well as legislators. So on behalf of the St. Tammany Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors, thank you and welcome you, and also thank our legislators for virtually joining us today. We would have preferred to do this in person, but our executive committee last week agreed that because of the increased number of corona cases, it'd be just safer for everybody to conduct this annual wrap-up meeting virtually. As we begin, we always begin every meeting with God and country. I will ask Dr. Michael Sprague to please lead us in the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance virtually. Dr. Mike?
Okay, would you all please join me in prayer? Our God, thank you that you said that in the world we will have tribulation, but be of good cheer, for I have overcome the world. We choose today to be cheerful because you have given us life to cherish, hope in our sufferings, perseverance in our pain, healing in our sicknesses, wisdom for our perplexities, strength for the journey, and meaning and purpose in our callings. Yes, we choose to be cheerful today because we live in a remarkable community that we call home, St. Tammany Parish. Thank you for a community that values faith and family and friends, children, flags that fly, and every single person being valued and celebrated. Thank you for extraordinary businessmen and businesswomen, extraordinary servant leaders and citizens who are on this call today, that every single day give of themselves to make our parish all that it's supposed to be. We're grateful today for our legislative leaders who have spent the last 6 months going the extra mile, listening to constituents, and pouring their very best into good lawmaking. Thank you that our senators and our representatives are our friends and our neighbors. Thank you for Senator Sharon, Senator Patrick, Senator Beth, Representative Larry and Melinda and Bob and Mark and Richard and Mary. Thank you that they care, that they labor, and that they are very fruitful. Lastly, oh God, remind us that unless the Lord builds the house, we labor in vain who build it. That out of a healthy vertical relationship with you, God, can come increasingly healthier horizontal relationships with each other. And with your wisdom, your strength, your reconciling power, your justice and mercy, every problem we have can be tackled and solutions can be discovered. Bless this chamber event. We pray in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
And now I'm going to ask all of you, unless you're driving a vehicle right now, if you would stand where you are and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you, Dr. Mike. Guys, since March 16th, like many of our businesses and your businesses, this chamber has continued to operate with staff originally working from home, returning to the office on May 18th and closely following the safety guidelines established by our governor and by our parish president. Our communications increased. All of our committees have continued to meet virtually. Our networking events have been adapted. And today is actually our 4th panel presentation. As I mentioned earlier, we have almost 80 people who have signed up for this, and I think we're going to be recording this as well, so you'll be able to watch us later on for this valuable information being given to you. Next week, we plan to celebrate and promote the reopening and continuing opening of many local businesses in our Sprinting for Business ribbon cutting event. Our finance committee has carefully amended our budget for 2020, and we did receive a PPP loan, and we are fortunate that due to our ongoing wise financial policies and practices, we are very financially sound at St. Tammany Chamber. Our plans to grow our membership parish-wide continue. We are proud to continue to support our small business across the parish and grateful for the long-term support of our large investors who enable our work. We had hoped to recognize in person and allow remarks from our long-term school superintendent, Trey Fultz. Trey, as you guys know, his leadership has impacted not only the students, families, and future workforce, but his collaborative partnerships have impacted economic and community development in tremendous positive ways. We also want to give a shout out to Andy Canulet, director of the St. Tammany Farmer, for his outstanding weekly publication that keeps all of us informed on news and all over our parish. Last month, the Farmer was awarded the Louisiana Press Association Small Newspaper of the Year, only the best, what we believe to be the best parish in Louisiana. So Andy and Sarah Pagonis are partners and friends. We appreciate you more than words can say. Both Andy and Trey are with us today, I believe. And again, Trey, congratulations on moving on to the state work with our state superintendent, and we know you're gonna be taking care of our students and our schools there. Well, please stay tuned for our weekly updates, ongoing potential dates, and venue changes due to this pandemic. There have been some changes. The Leader Cast date, many of you guys are tuned in for, that's having to be moved. The Fan Up Luncheon with Mike Detillier is still set right now for August 19th at the Harbor Center. And today I want to kick off our Saints season ticket raffle. We have a pair of Saints season tickets we're going to raffle off. The winner will be drawn at that luncheon with Mike Detillier on August 19th. Now, should this outbreak cancel or adjust the Saints season, there will be a cash prize value of the tickets that will be awarded to the winner. Tickets go on sale now. Talk to any chamber board member, call the chamber directly. They're going for $30 a piece. Or you can go onto our St. Tammany Chamber website and look there up under Fan Up. And our St. Tammany Parish Small Business Expo is still scheduled for September 30th. We have a golf tournament, October 15th at Oak Harbor. That golf tournament, we take the proceeds from that and we actually supply scholarships to high school seniors moving on to college. We gave away 2 just recently, and we're hoping to give away more next year, but it's proceeds from that golf tournament coming up on October 15th. And then tomorrow, State Treasurer Schroeder will join us virtually and to discuss the Main Street Recovery Program grants that all these small businesses and many small businesses can actually apply and begin for. And that grant, as you guys know, were from the help of our legislators who are on this call with us today, on the video with us today. So on behalf of our board and our entire membership of the St. Tammany Chamber, a special thanks to our first term and returning legislators. What a challenging session, special session you guys have faced. Thank you for your leadership, and we're looking forward to hearing from you today. I'd now like to introduce our sponsor and fellow board member, Mike Soche, president of Gulf States Real Estate Services, for brief sponsor remarks and introduction of our legislators. And then I will then serve as moderator for this panel of legislators who will then be we ask them to each take about 6 minutes to kind of talk about the legislative session, their wrap up and what's been going on. We'll begin with our senators. And we should wrap up today by 1:20-ish with closing remarks from our sponsor. So Mike Soche of Gulf States Real Estate Services, why don't you go ahead and take the welcome introductions.
Thank you very much, Tom. And I'd like to thank everybody for joining us today. Today, more than ever, we understand the need for effective leadership and the ramifications of ineffective leadership, the negative effects to communities around the nation. I am a big believer of the speed of the leader. In this case, the leaders we have here today are the speed of the group. Speed meaning proficiency, vision, character, and a number of other leadership qualities. But it's why Gulf States belongs to the chamber. It's why I serve on the board and other committees on the chamber. Today we have several great leaders with us. Actually, Michael read them all out, so I won't reread them in his prayer. Thank you, Michael, for doing that. I do want to say a little bit about Gulf States companies. We are growing and expanding even in the midst of COVID-19. The Gulf States companies is actually made up of 3 different companies. Gulf States Real Estate Services, which does property management, commercial and residential brokerage work. The Gulf States Construction Company, which is a general contractor and also does project management work as far north to Chicago, Illinois. We have projects going on up there right now. And then Gulf States Development Services, which is our development branch, where a lot of our business and our clients' relationship starts, where we vision projects and things of that nature. I want to mention everyone, so yesterday, this past weekend, we actually signed operating documents to formally expand into the state of Alabama. So we now are licensed and are doing business in Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama. Next year will be our 25th anniversary of the Gulf States Companies, and we're very happy to move into Alabama and join up with a group there that was previously called the Holyfield Companies, which does appraisal and real estate work in Fairhope and Mobile. So we're excited about that. At the same time, we're launching a new website that consolidates our services and also announces our new office presence in Alabama. That website is gsres.com. I'd ask that my friends on this call and acquaintances check that out. Let us know what you think. And we also have just recently launched a regional and national campaign, an ad campaign, to try and attract businesses, individuals, families that are thinking about moving to around. There's a lot of movement going on in the nation right now. A lot of people thinking about where they want to live, work, and play, and making changes. And Gulf States possesses the assets in order to move companies, relocate their employees, and do all those things. And we are marketing Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama. Baldwin County in Alabama, Fairhope area is one of the fastest growing communities in the country, not dissimilar to St. Tammany. So if you get city business, we have the back cover. Check out that ad, and it's a little bit provocative. Here it is on the screen. And there's also a lot of people downsizing and some upsizing. It just depends on where you fall today in the COVID structure, or in the oil and gas industry, or other industries that have been affected by COVID and other circumstances. So we obviously are high, very high on St. Tammany, very high on the Gulf Coast, and so we are hoping to attract some good new corporate citizens to the area, and we'll be very sensitive to maintaining the quality of life as we develop here locally and along the Gulf Coast. So, Tom, with that, I'd like to go ahead and ask, is Sharon on the call? Jessica, has she made it on the call? Our first speaker is Senator Sharon Hewitt, and Sharon, you go ahead and take it from there. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mike. Good afternoon. It's great to be with all of you today. I'm Sharon Hewitt. I live in Slidell and represent St. Tammany, St. Bernard, Plaquemine, and Orleans parishes. What we accomplished in these last 60 days, I believe, is historic. Not only did we do great policy work under extremely difficult circumstances, but with strong leadership from our president and our speaker, we reestablished the legislature as a co-equal branch of government. How did so much change from one term to the next? Well, we elected strong pro-business legislators last fall, creating the most conservative legislature in the history of the state. I took the unusual step as a sitting senator to get personally involved in the majority of the Senate races around the state, investing both personal campaign funds and raising another $1 million for these races. Then we elected a Senate president who was committed to governing as the majority party by establishing committee membership with strong Republican majorities. I was elected as the Senate GOP leader with a new vision of driving policies that supported the campaign promises that we made to our constituents and those objectives that had evaded us for so many years. The GOP delegation held retreats to identify our key policy objectives and pre-filed bills only to be sent home after the first week of session. Within 3 weeks of the first reported COVID case in Louisiana, the GOP delegation identified policy areas that would help with the economic recovery of our families and businesses and met the March 31st late filing deadline, allowing us to successfully pivot to address the new challenges facing our state. The first session was largely focused on the federal response dollars and the liability risks facing businesses as they attempted to reopen or support the COVID response. The special session that immediately followed focused primarily on tax incentives for businesses that would help put our people back to work. And I'm excited over the fact that we actually called ourselves back into session, allowing the legislature to set the agenda. And wrapped around all of this was one of our longtime primary objectives, improving our tort system and reducing car insurance rates. We finally passed this bill in the special session with a commitment from the governor to sign it. Similarly, I passed the seatbelt bill that I'd been working on for 3 years. Altogether, I passed about 18 bills and resolutions in a variety of areas, and I just wanted to highlight a few of those for you. In the area of economic support for businesses to assist with the COVID recovery, I passed Senate Bill 491 that limits the liability for persons who provide relief or recovery equipment like hand sanitizer or masks during a declared state of emergency. We passed Senate Bill 17 that extended the sunset on the angel investor tax credit program that's so popular, and Senate Bill 26 that extends the application deadline on the Quality Jobs Program. I worked on a number of budget improvement type bills, such as Senate Bill 166 that adds a healthcare economist to the fiscal office to improve our Medicaid forecasting, which is half our budget. And with Senate Bill 308, I'm continuing a 3-year effort to review dedicated funds to eliminate the carve-outs and put everybody on a level playing field to justify their need for state funding. I passed a few bills to help us locally here in St. Tammany, such as Senate Bill 27, that's going to allow the Harbor Center to collect another $1 per night of hotel motel stays in wards 8 and 9, generating another $300,000 a year for operating expenses. I passed Senate Bill 518 in support of Slidell Memorial Hospital, and SCR 51 that continues the work of the Lower Pearl River Task Force, which has been fighting against the One Lake Project in Jackson, Mississippi. We did some good things too with the budget and funding. For example, we were able to appropriate about $700,000 of surplus funding to St. Tammany entities, including the Tourist Commission, the St. Tammany Corporation, the Harbor Center, Rec District 1, and the parish for passive recreation projects. I established a $1 million grant program for regional STEM centers, which is my passion. The North Shore region has proposed a program and asked for a $100,000 grant. And we're continuing the funding for the Slidell Levee project in flood control areas. Other areas of interest that I've focused on were cybersecurity, carbon sequestration, the opportunity for the legislature and other public bodies to operate remotely during a future emergency, which we know was a big shortcoming in this last emergency. A resolution to end the coastal lawsuits. A resolution to establish a task force to look at closed party primaries. I worked on attorney advertising. I worked in support of the oyster industry and fought off attempts to expand mail-in ballots or weaken the integrity of our elections. Looking forward, I'm going to continue to work with the GOP delegation to establish both a short-term and a long-term policy agenda. I'm chairing the Senate Governmental Affairs Committee. And so part of our big responsibilities going forward will be confirming the cabinet and the board and commission appointments by the governor and other elected officials, and redistricting, which is going to ensure that the legislative, the congressional, the BSEE, the Public Service Commission, and the judicial districts are drawn to fairly represent the citizens of our state. As a reminder, if you haven't completed your census, please go do it online and do it right away. Not only does it help us with getting the right districts drawn, but federal dollars in many of our programs are allocated based on population. I'm excited to keep working with the St. Tammany delegation, which I think is the hardest working delegation in the state and has earned the respect of all of our colleagues. And our newest members really hit the ground running. Our returning members are leading in so many ways, and I couldn't be prouder to be part of this delegation and serving the citizens in St. Tammany Parish. So thank you to the Chamber for all that you do and all of the support that you gave us during the last session. And we look forward to continuing to work with you in the months and years to come.
Thank you so much, Sharon, for your time. Next up, we're going to have freshman Senator Patrick McMath is going to come and talk about his very first session. Patrick.
Thank you for having me, guys. Sharon, Senator Hewitt is always a difficult act to follow, so I was thrilled to see that I was behind her in this process. She always does a very good job of laying out what we in the Republican delegation and representing St. Tammany Parish are working very hard to do. And I'd like to, say thank you for that. And also Tom and Mike Soche, thanks for having us and putting this together. My name's Patrick McMath. I represent District 11, which encompasses St. Tammany Parish, Western St. Tammany Parish, and Tangipahoa. My freshman first two sessions are in the books, and it was very interesting to say the least. I think going in, you have this idea of what session is going to look like and what goals you want to accomplish. On the campaign, I promised to be a big advocate for tort reform and pro-business budget type approaches. Fiscal conservative when it comes to the budget process and our tax structure, and had every intention of doing that. And quite frankly, I lobbied pretty hard to get on Transportation Committee and the capital outlay, Revenue and Fisc, in order to bring some dollars back home to the district, which is something that I promised to do. And had a pretty decent plan laid out as to how I was going to go about achieving these goals and building the relationships that I think are necessary. And then the whole world flipped upside down, and you go in thinking that you're going to have 3.5 months to move the bills that you pre-file, and next thing you know, you got 3 weeks to do that, and it was sort of hit the ground running, like Senator Hewitt said. And fortunately, though, I'm so proud to have been a part of this legislature, these two past sessions. I think we did some pretty historic things. We passed pretty monumental tort reform in the hopes of lowering our auto insurance rates for the people of Louisiana. We have the second highest, and I think we took a big bite of the apple by doing that. I had the opportunity to serve on Senate Judiciary A Committee, which heard those bills. There were a number of them, and proud to say that I voted for all of them. In fact, I think a few months prior to the session, I had an opportunity with Representative Wright to sit in on a public policy committee meeting at the chamber, and I promised that we were going to get tort reform out of committee and onto the floor, and we did that. And I'm proud to have been a part of that process and have kept that promise. Something else that I had a chance to play a role in as a member of Revenue and Fisc is we made some pretty common sense conservative changes to the budget and the capital outlay process. We reserved $120 million in capital outlay funds in a newly created capital outlay savings account that allowed the legislator to better prioritize the much needed infrastructure spending that is so vital to the state. And it's something that I really view as economic development tool, quite honestly. And we also withheld $60 million, this has never been done before, in the budget funds to maintain flexibility for possible future budget shortfalls. Look, we're in a difficult time. We're going to know a lot more in a week than we know now. We're going to know a lot more in 2.5 months than we know today. I think, I would expect to have a special session in the fall to address our budget position that we currently find ourselves in. Because again, we're going to know a whole lot more, and it's something that I think none of us were I don't think you can say that any of us were expecting to have to deal with this global pandemic and the economic fallout that has come from it. But it's actually it's a really interesting place to be in as a freshman, because no one has really dealt with this before, and it has given some of us new folks an opportunity to sort of to rise up and contribute, right off the bat, which hopefully I was able to do. I know Representative Nelson and Representative Freeman, first timers there, Representative Owen, we I think we contributed pretty handily in this past few months, and it's been an amazing experience, and I think we're making the impact felt as representatives of St. Tammany Parish, which I think all of you could appreciate. And I'll say this too, in response to the COVID-19, something else that I was very proud of. I had a handful of bills that I pushed through. I think I got 6 of them across the finish line, and one of which I was really proud of is SB 508, which dealt with protecting our small businesses, and in particular our restaurants, by limiting their liability during this COVID crisis. And it's a good bill. It was part of a package of liability protections that I think are going to make a real impact. Small restaurants in our neck of the woods are a part of our lives. Covington, Mandeville, and Abita, and Madisonville. There's tons of these places, and they employ a number of people that live in our community and depend on our patronage. And the idea behind that bill was to help ease the rebuilding process that we're all businesses are going to have to go through. So, and we're not done yet. I'm looking forward to I hope we have a special session. I think we need to have one. I'm looking forward to getting back up here. I'm on a number of special committees and task force. In fact, I'm coming live from my Capitol office at the moment. We had a joint capital outlay meeting this morning, and as soon as we get off this call, I'm going to get back to work for you guys. So, listen, anytime that my office can be of help, please don't hesitate to reach out. And thank you again, Tom, for having us and putting this together. I really appreciate it.
Hey, thank you, Senator Patrick McMath. Now I want to turn to, for her 6 minutes, Senator Beth Mizell. Oh, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Now we got you.
Okay. I just wanted to say thank you to the chamber. I think you guys have done a great job in pulling this together, and your leadership means so much to what we see happening in St. Tammany. And I want to tell my colleague, Senator McMath, yes, indeed, my friend, you did a huge contribution. I think the 20 new senators, and I believe Senator Hewitt would agree, that the 20 new senators had a huge impact. And I want to thank both of them. They're both a hard act to follow. But this session, if I could just say, this session was the first time since I've served that I left there without feeling like I'd been gut punched when session's over. We actually accomplished what we set out to do, and that's the only thing I hate that the new guys have missed. They've never had that feeling that we've had in the past, Sharon, so they don't know how far we've come. They may think this is normal when this has not at all been normal for the experience I've had. So it was a very rewarding process this session. And I think just in looking at the big picture, what we did was lay groundwork for great things to happen in the state, for great things to allow to happen in Louisiana. I believe all of us have a goal of we want our children to stay in Louisiana. And by the groundwork that was laid in this session, we're slowly bringing that about. I mean, tort reform was a huge goal that was met. for my own little contribution. And I appreciate so much Mike Soche's comments on real estate, and I know he understands the role that broadband plays in expansion. But that was the #1 cry of my district through my campaign, was broadband, right there with tort reform. And until we have broadband available for all of Louisiana, not just for the urban areas, we're never going to get the expansion and economic growth. We're never going to have the quality of life that we would like to see across the board for the state. So in lining up that groundwork, I had a bill. Actually, I did it twice. One time just didn't seem to be enough. So I had a bill in regular session that would supposedly allow for the expansion of broadband. That bill was vetoed, so we won't discuss it. But in special, I had SB 10, which was a remake of that bill that was done in cooperation with the governor. And that bill allows for the servitudes that co-ops have where they provide electricity across the state. Those servitudes would be made available for the deployment of broadband. It's a huge step in that it allows our internet providers easy access. They don't have the staffing, they don't have the time. The urgency is tremendous on this, so this allows them a quick opportunity to use that servitude for the deployment of broadband, especially when there's a $20 billion fund available coming in October on auctions for those internet providers for the deployment of rural broadband. So we wanted to make it as easy and as attractive as possible to get the broadband into rural Louisiana. And in that thought, there is some accountability built into the bill where at the first of next year, internet providers and co-ops would come sit down and we would look at where any obstacles were that were hindrances to that deployment. And to give credit where it's due, Representative Desitel had a bill that added to that groundwork on the House side, where there were sales tax credits for the purchase of fiber optic materials for deployment. And I think cooperative endeavors like that, just like we saw with tort reform, many authors came together in order to get us on the right track of where we all want to go. So I felt really good about that. The governor, frankly, still hasn't signed my broadband bill. I checked this morning, and I'm hoping by next week we can have that done. But I think that our people, in the midst of this pandemic, our people were not able to be at the Capitol. And I mean our people in that those that voted for us, that have these needs, were not there. But we were able to pass bills that will benefit the greater good of the public when the only people that were there, and this was kind of gave a false image to our new guys, was the very polished lobbyist. So, you know, some of the stakeholders in the meetings that caused the most difficulty were the warring factions within the stakeholders that are going to profit from certain things happening, especially with the deployment of broadband and the competition. I think it's going to be really interesting. Maybe in October, God willing, and we'll be able to have the public back in the arena with us. But I miss the public greatly, and I'm anxious for them to be back and for our new guys to get the full benefit of their input. But thank you guys so much. I appreciate the time. Thank you, Jessica.
Senator Beth, thank you very much. And again, thank you to our senators for their time today. Like you said, a lot was done from your side, from the tort reform to the seatbelt to the broadband. Just a lot was done. Thank you. I now want to turn our time over, again, giving you guys 6 minutes each to our representatives. I want to begin with District 74. We have Representative Larry Freeman. We'll bring him up live and let's hear his mic. And I think he's muted right now, Jessica. You can bring him live. And Representative Freeman, hopefully we can hear you. There you go.
Hey, good afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much for having me, and I'm really excited to be here to talk. And I wish we could have been doing this in person as everyone else does, but this is the second best way to do it. So I'm happy to be here. And thank you to the Chamber for having this for businesses. It is beyond valuable. My name is Larry Freeman. I do represent District 74, which starts in St. Tammany and Abita Springs area. I also have the western part of Washington Parish and the northeastern part of Tangipahoa Parish. So I have a 3-parish district. This is my first term, and I have been sitting this term. I'm sitting on the Labor Committee, Insurance Committee, and the Civil Law Committee, which all have been very, very busy during this shortened session. We had some major bills come through all those 3 committees. So I've been real excited about these committees because it really had a lot of excitement going on and things happening. You know, as the first session coming out of the private sector, dealing with government has been an eye-opening experience, to say the least. I'm used to getting things done in a timely manner, a quick manner, you know, making decisions and making things happen. And I'm now having to learn patience, which is a virtue, I understand, but it's something that I have to develop over time with government work. Things don't happen very fast in government, and you know, we've always done it this way. You know, we've never done it that way before. That really doesn't sit well with me, but I am learning to be diplomatic and trying to understand how this process works. Couple things, I brought a few bills this past couple of sessions. You know, as a practicing attorney, I do workers' comp defense. I've been representing businesses and insurance companies for the past 27 years. So I brought a couple of workers' comp bills to try to level the playing field for business. One of them got actually out of committee and off the House floor over to the Senate, and the Senate Labor Committee never met again during that session, so it died in the Senate. And my other bill, I actually pulled on my own to try to educate the physicians in the area of the state to make them understand the bill, and hopefully they would not be so opposed to it. So that was my 2 workers' comp bills. The other bill I brought and took up the torch from Representative Raymond Cruz and Senator Kirk Talbot is balance billing or surprise billing. And I don't know if everyone knows what that is, so I'll give you a quick explanation. If you go to the hospital for a surgery and you have health insurance and you go to a hospital within your network, but an anesthesiologist or radiologist or pathologist works on your case while you're in the hospital and they're out of network and you did not know that. And then after you leave the hospital sometime later, you get this surprise bill from one of those specialties that you would owe, and you did not expect to owe it because you thought everything was in network. That's called balance billing or surprise billing. And apparently my understanding is this has been worked on or been trying to be worked on for years, and nothing has happened. So I took up the torch, had a bill, and got it into committee. And I can tell you, if you want to have people hate you, pick up the balance billing issue. I got the physicians, the hospitals, they didn't like my bill. Plans, they didn't like my bill. So I was making everybody uncomfortable. Unfortunately, we did not pass that out of committee, but I was able to get the committee chairman. He formed a task force or subcommittee, I guess, and we're going to continue to study this issue. But I have had some meetings with stakeholders after this, and I have committed to consumers who are the ones who are paying these balance bills to try and continue to work on this effort. It is going to be a monumental task because it hasn't been solved in the last 20 or 30 years. And I'm not naive enough to think we're going to be able to do this in a quick hurry, but we're going to continue our efforts on doing that. I was very involved in tort reform, being an attorney, and I and Representative Nelson, two freshmen, we were allowed to, and I say allowed, we were included in negotiations, in discussions, in formulating the policy, and evaluating the bill, and making changes to the bill. And I was real excited about that. And both Representative Nelson and I, we really enjoyed working on that and felt like we were included in that process. And that was real important for our district as well as the freshman class. They really wanted us involved in that. So anyway, I just wanted to say again, thank you to all the chamber and all the businesses. And I'm available anytime. If anybody has any questions or need any help with any issues, please contact my office or contact me, and I'm more than welcome. I'm more than happy to help in any way I can. And again, thank you all very much, and I enjoyed being here.
Representative Freeman, what you just said, thank you very much for the comment. And you're right, being a member of the Chamber of Commerce with this, we're able to reach out to our members and have this opportunity to hear from all of you like this and be able to throw questions. So I appreciate that we're able to meet with you guys today. I'd like to turn over next to our next representative from District 75, Representative Melinda White. We're giving Melinda White up live, and Miss Melinda, and everybody else, if you all would mute yourself, I appreciate it.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
You don't want to see me right now. I'm about to go to a doctor's appointment, but I am representing Washington Parish, majority of it, and a portion of St. Tammany, which is Sun, the Sun area. I'm in on this meeting as a Democrat, so I'm somewhat kind of floored that it's just a lot of talk about the GOP. However, I don't have an allegiance to a party and have voted on many of the initiatives that were put forth by the leaders of the GOP. And I've worked very closely with most of you on a lot of projects and different things. I dropped all of my bills that were not related to COVID, with the exception of one, which was an urgent request for rebase pay for bus drivers. I voted for the tort reform that came out, all of them that would come out, to help offset the high insurance rates, and I hope that it does that. We have basically about 600 trucks a day rolling through our paper mill box plant facilities. So it's very important in the logging industry that I be a part of that and push to get that done. Even though you didn't see me on the front lines, I was definitely behind the scenes, sometimes late into the night, talking and working on negotiations with that and with the governor. I do not hesitate to speak to the governor as frank and as honest as I do on the floor. I think everybody knows that about me. And so when I see issues that you all are pushing, and I agree with them or not, I will go and push him as well. So, you know, I don't know if you have an appreciation for that or not, but I do have an appreciation for some of the things that we got accomplished in the session. I'd also like to say that I keep being told every year, next year, but I honestly do believe from what we've seen and is that 3241 will be happening next year. That will finally open up the area of St. Tammany and into Washington Parish. That will really generate a lot of, I think, of our economy, which was why it was a part of the timed project, which the ED is economic development in part of that. And I think that will help us draw closer to being really a part of the North Shore. I ask for collaboration and help for my area, including Sun, which, by the way, has a bogus zip code number, and feel often a lot of times left out. But I do think that the future is very great for this area, and I cannot do that alone. We have to join as a group in order to make our whole North Shore delegation or North Shore area a growing area, and we have, you can live like a millionaire off very little money in Washington Parish. I can tell you that. I live here and I love it. There, so to end, because I do have an appointment at 1:20, in my part, I'm gonna stay on as long as I can. But I would love for you to not look at me because I'm of a different party, to not be a part of a team to move this area forward, because that is my goal, is to do that. That is my vision. And yes, I only have a small portion of St. Tammany, but I lived in St. Tammany when it was as country as Washington Parish back many years ago. And I witnessed the growth, and I witnessed how it happened. And I like to see an effort from everyone to help us keep that rising up north to us in every way that we can, to lift our people out of poverty. I just got my numbers this morning. I think our average income in this area, in my district, is $31,000. It's pretty sad. We are very welcoming to industry. We have 2 industrial parks with additional exemptions, an airport that flies in jets all the time for a paper mill and a box plant that delivers to your door all your orders online. We have lots of opportunity for industry. It is welcomed in our area. And so I cannot stress enough to you and reach out enough to you to please help put us on the map for growth, to be included in the North Shore, St. Tammany, Tangipahoa, Washington Parish. That's my goal moving forward. And I'd like to mention that I have asked repeatedly that Washington Parish be a part of the New Orleans regional planning. We are carved out and with Capital Regional, and I've never understood that. And I think that we are a part of the economic engine and can be of that region, of the region that we should be in. I would love some help on that moving forward. I think that would benefit us greatly. Senator Mizell, myself, and our parish president met with them in the New Orleans regional planning, which you all are a part of, but we are not. And it has not happened. And so, when I look at it moving forward, I would just like for us to all work together to really build this region. We have beautiful assets. We have, I know I'm probably over my 6 minutes and I can talk a while, but I do apologize if I've offended anyone. I don't mean to, but I really want to be a part of trying to build up my area and work across any line in my allegiance to representing the people that I represent. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Representative White. Turning time now to District 76, Representative Bob Owen. Bob?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right. Hey, everybody. My name is Bob Owen. I represent District 76, which comprises Slidell, basically from the Mississippi border to the Twin Spans. Mary Dubuisson has the other half of Slidell and Pearl River. I have to say that I'm so proud of what we were able to accomplish despite the COVID crisis. I cannot wait to continue to serve the citizens of St. Tammany for the next 3 years. This truly has been an amazing experience. However, because of COVID, describing our first session is kind of like drinking from the fire hose while being dragged over a bed of coals. It was something else. I have to be honest, after the regular session ended, I kind of felt a little defeated. We didn't get tort reform passed like we wanted. The budget was not satisfactory in my opinion. Yet, as I left the Capitol last week, I truly felt like we did what we said we promised to do, knowing that Republican-led House and Senate, who called their own unprecedented special session, reworked the tort and budget bills and got almost everything we wanted out of our legislative process. So in tort reform, we eliminated the seatbelt gag rule. Collateral source has been improved to reduce phantom medical billing. We lowered the jury threshold to make it more difficult for frivolous lawsuits. And we reformed direct action by placing the focus of these cases on the individual, not on the companies. For 25 years, Republicans have been trying to fix our jury, just the jury threshold alone And we came out with that and a trifecta. This is a huge step for Louisiana, not only for our insurance rates, but how we're perceived by the rest of the country in terms of our business viability. In other groundbreaking measures, we reserved $120 million in capital outlay in a savings account, which is really that's hardly ever been done. We can use that for future infrastructure, rainy day bailouts if needed. We have $275 million in direct grants that's going to be distributed by John Schroeder's office. That's going to be going out shortly. We discussed that earlier. We got $500 million going to local governments, and then essential workers are going to get an extra $250 from remaining CARES funding. Those are the big issues that we did, and I was really excited about those. Some of the things that I did going on since March, we elected our speaker, which was not the one that our delegation backed, but however, I was given good committee assignments, the ones that I wanted. I'm on the Health and Welfare Committee, which I requested since I run two family medical businesses. One's a product business, the other is a clinical business. I'm on the Transportation Committee, which everybody in St. Tammany is excited about. And I'm on the Labor Committee, which everybody gives me condolences for. However, I too like my assignments. They're really interesting. And if I can help with anyone with a particular problem, please feel free to reach out to me anytime. Due to COVID, we were asked to limit our bills only to the most important. Had a handful that met that criteria. Actually, only one that made it out to the governor's desk. We changed the name of the Slidell City Court to the City Court of East St. Tammany. It sounds like a little minor bill, but it was actually important for the voters in our area. Originally, the court encompassed the city of Slidell. Through the years, the court expanded towards 8 and 9. In the last election, almost half of the voters in unincorporated areas didn't vote for the city court judge. So changing it to the City Court of East St. Tammany was a no-brainer. The other big bill that I had was Louisiana Medical Right to Shop bill. That would allow individuals to know the cost of certain outpatient procedures before insurance basically went through and before the procedure was done. It was a really good bill. We just didn't have enough time to get the parties behind it. I'm going to pursue it further down the road, and it's something that we really can get done. It has to do with medical transparency. It's something I really believe in. The few other bills that I had, some of them had to do with water domains. Again, simply too short of time to push them through. However, some of the things that I was really proud that we got done is the introduction of the West Florida Caucus. If you don't know the history of St. Tammany, we used to be part of West Florida. We were even our own country at one point. The first Lone Star state, which drives people from Texas crazy. So Acadiana, the rural parishes, North Louisiana, they all have their own caucuses. Yet our area doesn't. And I don't see why not. I think we actually could be a really powerful group if we got together as a Republican delegation, especially. So, to kind of kick it off, I bought flags for everybody, on everybody's desk, and they kind of got everybody excited about it. And Representative Wright and I are going to be working on that in the near future. So that's our goal for the next year. Speaking of Representative Wright, we were both selected to be delegates to the Republican Convention in Jacksonville in August. I'm an alternative, but I'm honored to serve the role, and I'm excited to be part of the experience. Probably the most memorable thing that I did this entire time was, actually it was a strange thing. I got a phone call from somebody working at the Slidell Memorial Hospital. They had, when the B-2 planes were flying over, it was the first time they were flying over all the hospitals. They actually flew over New Orleans. We were flying towards Slidell and literally bypassed Slidell Memorial Hospital, went into Lacombe, flew into Mandeville, Covington, then went back over the lake. Well, all of the hospital employees who had been dealing with COVID and everything else all went up on the roof to go see the planes fly over, and and basically sat up there and were just completely disappointed and were heartbroken about it. So I was looking around for, basically for, several days, trying to find another group to fly over. Then I heard about the Blue Angels flying over. Then I saw their flight path, which basically went right before Slidell, but bypassed Slidell again. It turned around and went across the lake. So I got on the phone. I literally started calling basically everybody I could for 2 days straight. Finally, got a hold of somebody in the governor's office who said, "Look, you're going to get a call in a few minutes from this guy." It was General Waddell from the National Guard. and he said, "I'm going to turn your case over to one of the commanders with the Blue Angels." And within 30 minutes, their flight path literally changed and flew over Slidell. They even had when they came over Slidell Memorial Hospital, they actually did the afterburn and the whole thing. So it was really a great experience. I was really happy to be able to pull that off for everybody. I just want to thank everybody for support during this crisis. I mean, I know we're going to get through this, and I just want to thank everybody for the opportunity to serve my community. We've helped hundreds of people during this time get unemployment who never thought they would have to. We've helped businesses get assistance to keep afloat when they thought they might go under. And we've helped people of St. Tammany and the state of Louisiana with common sense legislation that's going to help us all in the long run. I love where we live, and I want it to thrive and prosper. So God bless St. Tammany. God bless Louisiana. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Owen. Moving on to District number 77, Representative Mark Wright. Mark, we can bring you up live. Here for you. We ask everybody else if y'all could go ahead and mute your lines.
Hey, thank you, everybody. I want to thank the Chamber, especially Tom, Mike, Lacey, and Jessica. I'm thrilled to be able to do this. Unfortunately, we couldn't meet in person. I had to tell you, this is my favorite event of all year. I mean, even when I wasn't a rep, I'd like to come listen to this. So I'm glad we were at least able to do it this way. Well, obviously, you've heard a number of senators and reps discuss what happened in the session, so I won't belabor that too much. But certainly, the tort reform bills took pride of place. They, the most focus, the most energy. I'm not on the committee that puts it together, but sat around a number of reps who were intricately involved, including Larry and Richard Nelson, my teammate. And it was very interesting to see, but I'm personally proud that we were able to get something out that I think will have an effect on insurance rates in Louisiana. I'm not confident that that is the final product that will get us to a place where we want to be, but it was obvious that we took steps to essentially adopt certain standards that other states have so that we could sort of mimic what they're getting out of insurance. So hopefully we'll see that in 2 to 3 years. And I think we just saw yesterday State Farm automatically reduced its rate premiums by 10%. So they're anticipating a change in that process. The budget and capital outlay were two other super important aspects of the sessions. We had to balance the budget using CARES Act dollars, which was appropriate in many circumstances, but we didn't have the type of budget fight that we will probably have in the near future because of the lost revenue. Because of that, because we were able to use those dollars. But certainly in October, next spring, is when we're going to see some real, hard decisions being made about what we're going to provide as far as services, and looking at revenue forecasts. It's going to be, it's a little unclear right now where things are going to go, but certainly we'll get through it. And then finally, that capital outlay that everybody discussed. I serve on Ways and Means, and our chair, Stuart Bishop, did an unbelievable job marshaling that forward, both setting up a fund to save capital outlay dollars, and then also narrowing it down to the most important things. And as he told me early on, his focus is on roads, bridges, and water infrastructure. And in fact, we were able to do a few things. I say we, Senator McMath, myself, were able to do a few things for example, city, the town of Madisonville, and also city of Covington. So able to do the kind of things that I think capital outlay was designed to be. I think one of the most important aspects of the sessions and a change for the future is how the House and Senate delegations work together. I think, there was a good bit of turnover on both sides, both in members and then also at the leadership level, obviously. And the change between last term and this term was fairly dramatic in the way we did things. And it was for the good. There's no doubt about it. I think you're seeing a more independent legislature, as many have stated. I think that's good for Louisiana. If you know Louisiana history, you know that's not been the case. So this is a good government type step that we're taking. As far as the newer reps, I thought it was wonderful to have that much of an influx in. I know some people will, disagree and dislike the fact that we didn't have the type of experience that other legislatures have had. But I think it's a great thing. I mean, certainly experience counts for something, and we have enough of that around here to do that. But the influx of new ideas, of people coming in and looking at it from an entirely fresh perspective was wonderful in my mind. And I think it'll serve us well in the coming years. As far as bills in the session, I was able to pass a few bills that, I'll share with you. First was a bill that created a new licensing regime and regulation for virtual currencies. I think most of you are familiar with Bitcoin. This is an attempt to sort of set up and put Louisiana on the map for the cryptocurrency type businesses, right? And then eventually set us up to put us on the map for blockchain type business and interaction as well. So that was a very interesting dynamic going through it. I mean, most people around here, including myself, are not so familiar with cryptocurrency and how it works. And so it was a real education process, but I was really proud to do it with a gentleman who owns a Louisiana business, Pelicoin. And I think we took some great steps. I mean, one of the things I was proud of is that we were able to tell legislators that we don't need to be one of the last states to adopt regulations and laws relating to it. We can be at the top of the line. And so we are one of the first states in the union to push this forward. Also, I was able to, grateful to carry a few bills for the Speaker and the Senate President's Economic Recovery Task Force. We had 3 members from Covington alone, Maura Donahue, John Finan, and Scott Ballard. So we were able to have a real imprint on some of the things that were being done through that task force. I appreciate their work on it and the opportunity to carry a couple of those bills. One was a bill that essentially would provide some types of tax breaks or credits for small businesses, under 50 employees, dealing with, the consumer confidence type businesses, restaurants, hotels, bars, retail. Unfortunately, it got vetoed by the governor. We met, I strongly disagree with his view on it, but, he's the governor and he can veto these types of things. Well, we ended up running that bill in a different form in the special session, and it passed, and I think it'll be signed. Also had another bill related to enterprise zones for the same sort of class of businesses. And all feedback that I've received is that the governor's either going to sign it or let it go into law. So personally proud to help smaller businesses in Louisiana. I think we face a really difficult economic environment for the next few years. And those are the types of businesses in my mind that we really should be trying to help or try to help them stay alive and not have to permanently close doors. One final thing I'll mention, I was able to get through a task force bill. It's not, sometimes people laugh at creating these task force, but I think it's important because it's dedicated to Louisiana's international trade potential. Essentially, we'll have a few meetings where we'll bring in all the international trade stakeholders and get a clearer picture of what they need to really compete, take Louisiana to another level in international trade, and try to do it over the next 2 terms. And certainly, if you have any interest in that, contact me after. I'd love to help. One other thing I don't think many have discussed, but I know the chamber had a virtual discussion about it, was the Treasurer's Main Street program. So the legislature was able to set up a program that will give small businesses some of the CARES Act dollars to sort of help with costs over this this event the last few months. And I think that was a great step, by the way. Another example of the delegation or the two, chambers working together and creating something that could be really beneficial for, our residents. Finally, I'll just say this. I really enjoyed working with our delegation. I think, we've said it over time. We've got a lot of new people, especially on the House side, working through this process. I mean, I'm considered one of the more experienced members, and I was just in my third year, frankly. So we have a great delegation. I really think we've got a lot of people that bring a lot of talent, a lot of drive, and some wisdom to the table. And you'll be proud of what we have coming out of this delegation in the years to come. And so obviously, hopefully we'll have a different environment in the coming years as well. I'm going to go ahead and leave and just tell you one more time, I really appreciate the opportunity to do this. I'm here at the House. I had a committee meeting this morning for capital outlay, and so just couldn't get it back in time. So thank you again. Take care.
Thank you, Representative. Turning over to our next district, District 89, Representative Richard Nelson. Sir?
Hey guys, how you doing? Yeah, I'd say, most of it, everybody's covered almost everything that happened, I think. I'd say my personal best achievement in this session was convincing all the rest of my reps that I wasn't a page, because I think that was the biggest, controversy that I had to deal with. But other than that, I think I worked pretty hard on the tort reform stuff. I mean, that was a huge lesson in sausage making. My first bill got vetoed, was a tort reform bill that got vetoed by the governor in the first session. And then I had a really strong tort reform bill that kind of helped push the ball forward, I think, in the second special session. But that was almost all my attention was focused on that. And that was a huge, that was just a huge thing. And I was really focused on it just because, not only was I, really wanted to get the rates down for everybody, but also as I think that it was really a bellwether on whether or not the legislature can still solve problems and get stuff passed. And I think our ability to do that just demonstrates that, hey, we can still get things done. And I think that that'll play forward in the rest, in the future sessions. Hopefully we can tackle some of the bigger issues that we have, besides just insurance rates. I think insurance rates are important, but at the end of the day, no one's going to move their company to Louisiana because we have average insurance rates. We really have to address a lot of the other policies like tort reform, substantial tax reform, things like that I think will be, very important. I don't need to, bore you with all the stuff you've already heard. I think it was a great session. I think we got a lot done. I'm glad that we were able to accomplish what we did, and I'm looking forward to working with everybody in the future. Thank you.
All right, well, thank you. Thank you, Representative. And we'll turn it then, in our last time, to District 90, Representative Mary Dubuisson. Was Mary able to join us? Jessica, there she is. I can see her. We can't hear you, Representative. Nope, I think maybe you need to unmute your microphone. There we go.
Okay, yay. Thank you so much. I'm really happy to be here, and I'm so glad that so many people are listening today. I take it as a benefit to go last. As Representative Nelson was saying, so many things have been discussed, but that way you will really understand and hear all that we're saying, because we're going to say it multiple times, right? I think that the past several months have been historic and unprecedented, and they've impacted all of us personally and professionally. And who would have thought we'd be doing a Zoom legislative update, but here we are. Times are changing. The most heartbreaking thing for the representatives was the loss of our colleague and friend, Reggie Bacala, to the coronavirus. So it forced protocols to be made, and such as the lobbyists had to stay out of the chamber. They were delegated just to the balcony. And we had to have panels put up between our seatmates, which Representative Owen is my seatmate, and I was so happy to have him there. And we had to have seats remain vacant between those attending committee meetings as well as the committee members themselves. We even had to go to a separate room, the next overflow room, and walk back and forth to do our roll call and our voting, which was really unusual. But as often is the case, some good things come out of bad, and these unusual ways brought us closer together, believe it or not, while of course maintaining our social distancing. But for me, it's always an important thing to know people's names. And I did that through owning our own business. We had Slido Cleaners, and I always loved the fact that, you know, I pay a lot of attention to that. And so it was important for me to learn the new 65 members' names. And in addition to that, Bob can tell you, I have a candy jar that sits on my desk, so they have to come over whenever they're having a chocolate fix, right? So it just initiated that conversation and relationships. And to me, relationships are extremely important, and that's how you really get things done in the House and in life. So this year, I served on appropriations and joint legislative budget committees, and it enabled me to have firsthand experience of many challenges that face our state. The total state budget is $39.4 billion. Yes, that's with the B, which is $4.4 billion increase over the fiscal year 20 budget. And as I'm sure you all realize, the state's budget is largely based on oil and gas, tourism, and sales tax. So obviously the impact has been huge. However, the influx of the Federal CARES Act, which has been mentioned before, has been our salvation to help plug the hole in the budget. We were able to pass legislation to extend and expand business tax credits, exemptions, and incentive programs. And while these measures will help protect jobs and protect the tax base for the state, it also affects the local governments, which I'm sure they're really hurting right now. We all know it, as our local businesses are. But while we can't ignore the fact that these programs will also affect our incoming dollars, we've developed a conservative budget that reflects our current and fiscal reality and plans for the fiscal uncertainty of the future. We made history following the lead of the Chairman Ways and Means. I think Representative Wright mentioned Stuart Bishop, and we voted to reserve the $120 million, which many people have talked about in capital outlay funds. But we have to, these funds can also be put into the Budget Stabilization Fund to weather future shortfalls. And in addition to that, we froze the state employed pay raises during these uncertain economic times. That was not an easy decision to be made. I know many of you as business owners realize that it's never an easy thing. And one of the main things that our office has continued to do, because that's the primary focus of what happens in our office. Mr. Cromer always said, you know, I don't go to Baton Rouge to see how many laws I can pass. It's to see how we can help our constituents. That these are the people that put us there, and we want their interests are always at the top of our list. And so many people have contacted our office, and my assistant Jenny Dexter has done an amazing job of putting them in touch with the unemployment office and helping them to get workman's comp, and not workman's comp, but unemployment benefits. And so I'm just really proud of that. Anyway, the legislature will continue to monitor the effects of our efforts and likely to have a special session, as was mentioned. We're looking at that in possibly September or October. And I would say really, that will be something that will happen. And I'm happy to be back there, because I think only then will we see the federal money that has come down to us and how we're able to adjust our budget to accommodate those numbers. So just real quickly, I wanted to say that balance billing that Representative Wright talked about, so many of the things with the new members, they may look young, like Representative Nelson said, but they do not act young. They're very independent, they're very strong-minded, and they bring lots of good things to the forefront. So the balance billing was amazing. The tort reform with Representative Wright, Representative Freeman, Representative Nelson, amazing work that they did. Senator and Pro Tem Beth Mizell, even though the public couldn't be there and they were definitely missed, please always stress the fact that they can watch on our legislative website. You can watch every committee meeting. You can watch what happens on the floor, the bills that are passed. You can look up bills by numbers. You can track them, follow them. So please don't forget about that. And so, and Senator Hewitt talked about the census. I'd also like to stress that, and vote. This is a weekend that we're going to vote, so please get out and exercise your right to do that. So needless to say, our North Shore delegation has been very, very busy. And in addition to appropriations, I served on insurance and municipal. So all of those had many interesting bills that were brought in front of us, and I appreciated being a part of it. I hope that I contributed in a very good way. That was my objective, and I enjoyed every minute of it there. So I'm happy to be there and to representing all my constituents. And I appreciate in addition to Jenny, my intern, Scott Goodwill has been amazing. So without them, I couldn't do all that I do. So thank them. Thank all of you for being there, supporting me. And please reach out to me anytime with any questions or suggestions that you may have. I'm open. And thank you again to the Chamber for helping us. And so happy that the Chamber now has an office in Old Town in Slidell. So we appreciate that. And again, thank y'all for being here.
Thank you, Representative Dubuisson. Again, just want to tell everybody, thank you to all representatives and senators who joined us today to hear about this session and everything that was done and accomplished. And I think you heard it from everyone. There was a lot of agreement, a lot of working together, maybe some things that have never happened before. And as a voter, as a citizen here in Louisiana, and I just want to thank you for that work that you guys have done. And the advocacy public policy here with the St. Tammany Chamber has been very active and engaged in this too. And we've been able to meet with our representatives and with our senators on the issues that you, our chamber members, bring up. So we're asking again to stay continued to be active with us. If you want to learn more about that committee, the Advocacy Public Policy Committee, please reach out to the chamber. We'll let you know when the meetings are, because there's a lot of things happening, a lot of things coming up that you guys need to be aware of. With that, I'm going to turn it to actually the chair of that committee and also our sponsor again today to kind of wrap us up today, Mike Soche, president of Gulf States Real Estate Services. Mike Soche, why don't you go and wrap things up for us?
Thank you, Tom, and thanks everyone for giving us your input and your successes from this year. We still got a half a year to go, roughly, and expect more good things out of this delegation. The Chamber is dedicated, obviously, to improving the business climate in St. Tammany Parish, now parish-wide, but we also are fully engaged in any quality of life issues. Most of the bills that I heard you ladies and gentlemen speak about today are quality of life issues. So if you need the Chamber to weigh in on those things, 9 out of 10 times we will weigh in. Sometimes we won't. If we feel it's something that that is just too detailed or for whatever reason our executive committee and board decides not to. But as Tom mentioned, we are very engaged, having probably one of the most busiest years I've seen at the Chamber. We are rewriting our codes and ordinances of St. Tammany Parish right now, along with the administration, the council, the North Shore Business Council, the Home Builders Association. That is a major effort to try and bring our development codes and ordinances up to date and take advantage of all the new technology that is out there in drainage modeling, traffic modeling, and the like. I want to mention that we are probably going to be calling upon some of you to help us navigate, expedite some of the information and some of the monies that will be coming out of the Watershed Initiative, which is as y'all may know, I think it's a $3 billion program that we hope to gather some funds for St. Tammany. St. Tammany Parish, now that the spillway seems to be opened every year, every other year, St. Tammany Parish is now part of the Mississippi River floodplain. I've made the comments that we should try and petition the federal government for some dollars for our coast and to see what effects that may have on our fisheries and other things. Y'all have a tremendous scorecard that you've been able to rack up already in the first half of this year. The Chamber and Chris Massengale's office can help get that message out. A lot of times I see people that just don't They do a lot of good things, but the public needs to know. And we have the staff and excellent resources at the Chamber to help get that message out. So again, thank you. I'd like to end, Jessica, if you could pull up that picture I sent you. This is my first grandchild. It was born last Thursday, Brooks Joseph Soche. And this is why we do what we do, to keep for the future generations that we have. So I had, I wanted to get every drop of blood out of this sponsorship and get my new grandson, our first grandson, out. We're very proud of him and my son Matthew and his wife Lindsay. And let's keep up the good work. And everybody stay safe with COVID and be prosperous. And again, thank you for all your work. Thank you, Jessica, and the rest of your staff, and Lacey, for putting on this event.
Thank you, everybody, for coming today. I just want to tell everyone that we did record this webinar. It will be posted probably in the next couple of days on our YouTube channel, and I will email you all a link. So if there was something you wanted to go back and refer to, share it. Thank you to everybody, all of our representatives, senators, and their staff for working with me on this. And we do appreciate all your time. Thank you all for participating. Like we said, we're sorry we couldn't do it in person. If they do that special session in the fall, we will hopefully be able to have another one of these. And thank you, everybody, and everyone have a great day.